and welcome to Dining with Diabetes. Today we're going to demonstrate how to make hash brown potatoes. Are you surprised to hear that a carbohydrate-rich food, such as potatoes, is on the menu? Well, it's true that potatoes are a rich source of carbohydrates. However, they also happen to be a really good source of other important vitamins and minerals, such as vitamin B6, vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, and fiber, especially if you keep the skins on. As we talk about health in these classes, one of the important things to recognize is that we really can enjoy a wide variety of foods, including carbohydrate-rich foods, but the key to your success in order to manage your blood glucose is to make sure that you're also being mindful of portion control. So that'll certainly be one of the lessons that we talk about today, as well as one technique for healthy cooking. Some examples include baking, sauteing, or steaming, but today we're going to demonstrate how to saute. All right, as we begin to prepare our hash brown potatoes, you'll see we have 6 simple ingredients. We have a red pepper, we have new potatoes, we have some chives, so you could also use a green onion if that's what you happen to have on hand. And we also have it established in what we call mise en place. In other words, everything is in place. I've already cut the potatoes, the red bell pepper, and the chives. I've measured my olive oil, and I also have salt and pepper out and ready to go. When you have everything prepared in advance, it makes the cooking process go a lot smoother. So you'll note that I said we have a red bell pepper, and red is great, but if you happen to have yellow or orange or green bell pepper on hand that you'd rather use, that also works. If you have a preference for spicy food, maybe you want to throw in some green chilies. All of that works equally as well and won't really affect the nutritional content, at least in the terms of how it might impact your blood glucose. Now, from a culinary perspective, what I'd like you to recognize is there is one advantage to the red bell pepper. When we contrast the red with the white in the potatoes and the green in the chives, well, it makes for a really pretty finished product. So just something to consider, though maybe it doesn't matter to you if you have something else available. Another thing that I'd like to touch on that comes back to our portion control is to first look at what exactly is a medium red potato before it's cut up. So for demonstration purposes, I have the medium-sized red potato here, and we're going to compare that to a large egg. As you'll note, it's a little bit larger, the potato, than the egg itself. This potato is the equivalent of about 15 grams of carbohydrates, which also translates to 1 carbohydrate serving. Okay, with everything in place, we are now ready to go to the cooking process. I just started the heat on the pan, about medium heat, and I like to let the pan heat up just a little bit before I add the olive oil. And once it's been there a minute or two, we're going to add the olive oil. And what we're looking for before we add our potatoes, which we had prepared in advance because we had our mise en place, is to have that oil look shimmery. So I'll swirl it over the pan. And it takes just a little bit of time, but you can start to see a little bit of a wave that turns up in the oil as it's heating. Just be cautious with olive oil that we don't overheat it. We certainly don't want the taste of burnt oil. Olive oil is not known for having the highest level of heat tolerance. So my potatoes are ready to go. And now I'm going to add them into the pan. Careful for a little bit of splattering, especially if you had some water on there. We're going to add the potatoes, as well as the red pepper. And we're going to periodically stir. What our goal is for the potatoes to get brown but not burnt, and they also need to be cooked through. So be sure that you're monitoring the temperature on your stove. And also note that we're saving the chives for the very end. Salt and pepper are to taste. Err on the side of less because you can always add more later. After about 10 minutes without stirring, I'm going to give the potatoes a gentle stir, and you can see we're starting to get a little bit of browning. Just evenly spread them out and let them sit again for probably another 10 minutes or so, periodically checking to make sure we're not getting any burning. Our hash brown potatoes have now been cooking for 24 minutes, and you can see the degree of browning. At this point, they are also fairly soft, but not quite done. What I'm going to do, and you may not need to, but I'm going to add just a little bit of water. And by little bit, what I have here is, well, quarter cup perhaps. I'm going to add about a quarter cup of water. You could also use broth. And then I'm going to cover the potatoes. As you can see, my lid doesn't quite fit, but that's okay. Essentially what we're trying to do is trap most of the moisture so that it can kind of act as a way of steaming the potatoes and finish the cooking process. 3 minutes later, I'm going to remove the lid. Give them one last stir, and voila, our potatoes are cooked. They're still a little bit firm, but still soft enough that they taste like they're done. I'll sprinkle in half of the chives and stir them in. I'm going to keep the other half of my pre-cut chives separate. What I like to do is to add them to the top of the plate, just again for that visual appeal. As you prepare to serve your potatoes, recognize that a rounded half cup of your hash browns is an appropriate portioning to get you at that roughly 15 grams of carbohydrates. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the hash brown potatoes.